If we knew more about our sleep, what would we do differently? Would we go to bed at a consistent time or take steps to reduce interruptions to our sleep? With the all-new Sleep Score, Apple Watch measures your bedtime consistency, interruptions, and sleep duration. Then, every morning it combines these factors into an easy-to-understand score from 1 to 100. So you'll know how to take the quality of your sleep from good to excellent. Introducing the new Sleep Score on Apple Watch. iPhone 11 or later required.
Oh, Hilton stay, your beds are soft and cozy. No lumpy couch, no stiff futon, no shower line at crack of dawn. Oh, Hilton stay.
When you want holiday comfort you can count on, it matters where you stay. Enjoy comfortable rooms and friendly service when you stay with Hilton instead. Save up to 25% this season when you book with Hilton. Hilton for the stay. Terms apply.
Hello, my name is Damon Friedman, co-founder and president of SOF Missions. As a 20-year veteran within Special Operations, I've gone through many challenges due to my military service and time in combat. We felt called to start SOF Missions to serve our fellow brothers and sisters in arms, focusing on suicide prevention and resiliency. Our mission at SOF Missions is to empower warriors to find purpose and be resilient. Since 2011, when we started the organization, almost 3 million men and women have deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. Unfortunately, the scars of war take a toll on their psychological, physical, social, and spiritual health. Many veterans feel a sense of hopelessness and a loss of purpose when they return to civilian life. They feel isolated and alone, unable to reconnect. And in the greatest of tragedies, over 20 veterans lose all hope and take their own lives. Our goal at SOF Missions is to provide veterans the tools and resources so that they don't become a statistic. We offer a unique approach to combating veteran suicide through a whole health, intradisciplinary model. The Be Resilient program is a 4-pillar methodology that addresses the areas of psychological, physical, social, and spiritual wellness. We provide care through 3 delivery methods: medical clinics, retreats, and educational training. Since we started back in 2011, we have been able to reach veterans in all 50 states and have served over 3,000 veterans through the Be Resilient program. Being resilient is a multifaceted and complex issue. We know that to find a lasting solution, we have to address the whole warrior. Many challenges cannot be solved by providing the treatments and modalities of just one component, but by tackling them all. Now, we've expanded our services to include law enforcement and first responders. Together, we can make a lasting impact in the lives of warriors across the nation. To learn more, visit our website at sofmissions.org.
All right. Welcome back.
MisFit Nation, the MisFit Nation show.
We are a show founded by a veteran and hosted by 2 veterans and a military spouse. Our mission is to get people to tell their stories to the world. If you're an author, share your tips with the MisFit Nation. If you're a musician or an actor, our audience needs to know how they too can get into the business. Coaches, we love our coaches. Come on and share your tips with the MisFit Nation to help them become better versions of themselves. If you are a corporate leader or an entrepreneur, come on and show how you did it and how hard you have fought for success. If you are a veteran, first responder, or Gold Star family, we would love to have you come on and share your story with the MisFit Nation. We always have time for you. If you're feeling down, alone, or starting to see the darkness, stop. Think about those who are around you. You are not alone. You will be missed. If you feel like your problems will be a burden to those in your inner circle or feel embarrassed, dial 988. If you are a veteran, take option 1. We need you to keep pushing forward. Don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you are a new listener, welcome to the MisFit Nation show. Be sure to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast app. Also on our YouTube channel at @the_MisFit Nation. Subscribe and click the bell to keep you up to date on our latest episodes and all of our news. You can can also find us on Heroes Media Group and About Face Radio. Now, let's get to the show!
All right. Welcome back to the Misfit Nation. It's your Sunday after dinner show. We know you can fly anywhere you want. You have choices anywhere you want to be, but tonight you chose to be with us, and we thank you. We'll give you some frequent flyer miles tonight. We have no bad news tonight, so that's a good way to start our night. We've gone almost a week now without having to announce any. So that's kudos to the communities out there, to you out there, for settling things without going to violence. So thank you for that. If you're going through the darkness, listen to that PSA we say in our opening. A day tomorrow is better than a day without you. A day tomorrow with you is better than a day without you. Let that sink in. You will be missed. We are here for you. If you need help, call 988. If you don't want to do that, reach out to us at the Misfit Nation. info@themisfitnation.com, Steven@themisfitnation.com, or Jake@themisfitnation.com. Any one of us will try to help you, and we'll stay on the phone with you until you get that help. Tonight, we have the honor of doing a mic flip. I was on his show. It was just released a couple weeks ago, the Remarkable People podcast. He is a born-again believer in God, father of 2 remarkable people, a lifelong learner, and a self-appointed guinea pig for anything he promotes. He's a marketing guru, website designer, and a sales coach by profession. Like I just said, he's the host of the Remarkable People podcast, a beach enthusiast, and God by passion. So without further ado, let's welcome David Pasqualone to the Misfit Nation show. Welcome, David.
Hey, I'm honored to be here, my friend.
It's awesome to have you here. And again, like I just said, we just flipped the mics. Now you're in the hot seat. I'm just in the controller seat. So this is outstanding.
Sounds good. How can I help?
So I just gave basically the less than elevator speech intro on you there. I would like you to just tell the Misfit Nation a little bit more about you, from as far back as you want to go, when you found your way back into to God, and how you got to where you are today.
Man, I'll give the express line, and if you want to stop anywhere along the way, you let me know.
Sir.
So my mom and dad weren't married. They had me. Dad wanted nothing to do with me, and then grew up with just my mom, my grandma. My mom kind of had her own set of issues, but she loved me. But she struggled. My grandma was awesome, but she died. I watched her die for the first 4.5 years of my life. And surprisingly, I have a lot of beautiful, vivid memories of her, but I also remember her dying of cancer. And then when she kind of died, there was this gap and things got really unstable, in the home, so to speak. So between birth and 12 years old, I knew there was a God, but I didn't know who God was, or, I lived in a small town of like 30,000, and yet we had 26 churches, different denominations, not just churches. So it's like, which one's right? And then when I was 15, I started having real problems. Like I started thinking I was losing my mind. Looking back now, I think they were what people would call panic attacks, just because the enormous amount of stress. And then once there was this pastor who'd always come around knocking on doors, and he always invited us to church, and always on the basketball courts. And when I was having these issues, I just thought I need to go there. Like just God put it inside of me that I need to go to this church. So the first time I went, I didn't know the difference between like a Bible and a hymnal. I didn't know where to find stuff when he was talking. And it was really funny looking back. It was a small church, less than 100 people total. And that includes like families with children. But I remember going, and how you're in school and you raise your hand when you have a question. I did that in the middle of church services for the first like 3 weeks, Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night. Nobody said a word to me. And then the pastor came to me after a Thursday night youth group, and we're walking up the hill to get to our cars. And he's like, hey, sadly, we don't have a lot of men here who have time to kind of disciple you, but I got a friend a town over who has some time, and would you like him to disciple you? And I'm like, sure, but what's that? And he's like, oh, basically answer your questions out of the Bible. I'm like, yes. Absolutely. So this man, that was Pastor Carl Kuhn, and his wife Bev ran that small Baptist church. And then Tony Stefanini's the man who just took the time out of his life to come to my place twice a week. And because of that, I trusted Christ as my savior. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of my best friends that I can think of trusted Christ as their savior. And then from there, my entire life changed. Wow. So then simultaneously, while this is all going on, I kind of alluded to, I thought I was losing my mind. I was sick all the time. Doctors told me I was a hypochondriac. Nothing was wrong. So I just wanted to get out of, graduate, go off. I wanted to join the military. And I ended up right before I graduated. And when I say I was sick all the time, I mean, I was sick all the time. And then I could go wrestle. And then after wrestling, I couldn't even bench 120 pounds. And then I'd fall asleep all the time. And it was just a mess. And my throat would swell and I'd have all these issues. Well, long story short, I forced the doctor to give me a CAT scan I forced the doctor to take out my tonsils right before I graduated because I was becoming 18. So, when you're 18 back then, I had the legal authority to act on my behalf. But even though I wasn't there yet, I convinced my mom to tell him to take out my tonsils. And then a week before the surgery, I went in for the pre-op. And like, oh, what's that lump on the roof of your mouth? I'm like, that's been there for 6 months. I've been telling you about it. And like, oh, that's probably just an abscess. We'll take a CAT scan just to be safe. Make sure it's not near where they were cutting. And long story short, I had a tumor in there the size of a large orange with a tail down my throat. So they took it out. I got sent to Mass General in Boston, had the literal best surgeon in the world, Dr. William Montgomery. And he took it out and then it grew back. And they took it out again and it grew back. And then I had radiation. And then after all that, I was down to 133 pounds. I was in bad shape. And I was in and out of the hospital for over a year. And I was just exhausted. And God blessed, introduced me to a holistic doctor. The guy was a chiropractor. And he's like, hey, this is feeding off dairy and sugar. Cut out dairy and sugar. So I did. Sure enough, the tumor kept shrinking. I started getting stronger. And now I'm 225 pounds now. So I need to lose a little weight, but I feel much better now.
That's outstanding. And you talk about the holistic approach in chiropractor. I had tore my quad the day before Father's Day. And I couldn't get an actual doctor's appointment because, it's so much backlog with the VA or backlog with our other doctor. So I went to my chiropractor and I told him, he said, all right, just hold still. And he had me on the bench on the table and he did something to my leg. I might have screamed like a little girl, but I could walk after that.
Yeah.
I could actually get up and walk without a limp. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. Then I started getting dry needling in there and it's worked way better than waiting for that doctor to actually do something.
Yeah. And we've all had it. I had it one time where I just woke up one day and I couldn't move my arm. And I went to the chiropractor and I did. I went to the chiropractor, different chiropractor. He was a guy that worked on the Celtics. And he's like, Dave, see that hole? I'm like, yeah. It's like, that's where your shoulder should be. I guess I separated one of the last wrestling practices. And for 6 months, it was out of joint. So I'm sitting there doing like landscaping. And one day my arm just woke up dead. So he just grabbed it, popped it in. And like you said, agony for like 2 seconds, and then all the blood flowed back, and it's been perfect ever since. So those chiropractors, God's giving the right chiropractor, like any other doctor, gives them a gift. They do great work.
Definitely do. I thank him right now. He's scuba diving over at the Cocos Island, Costa Rica right now with all the sharks. So hopefully it makes it back to me in one piece.
Nice. Yeah. So, I mean, that was a shotgun of the first 20 years, and obviously there's a lot more, but like everything about it is like, I know God's real in my soul, but anybody who is around me, just on the statistical like anomalies of, I should be dead, I should be deformed, I should be like handicapped, everything you could possibly imagine, I came out like perfect, like the best case scenario. And that wasn't because anything I did. What I do, I laid there for 3 days and let them cut me open, fill me with super glue, and cut me open again. Right? I didn't do anything. It was all God. But yeah, like that's when you're talking about people where I love in the intro, don't make a permanent decision for temporary problems. God loves us all, and he is not vindictive. Satan's the bastard who causes all the issues. Satan's the bastard who causes the torment. Satan's the bastard who lies and makes your life miserable, whether you think so or not. So what you have to remember is God loves you and wants you to be well and prosper. But if he is allowing something terrible to happen, there's a reason. If you just stay on the narrow path, you will come out better, not just in this life, but more importantly for eternity. So you just never quit.
Definitely. My guest last Sunday, Andrew Jones, he was at the point where he almost ended it all. And that was from being in the Marine Corps, PTSD, and not having that purpose when he came out, and that darkness just creeped in on him. And the Lord shined that light on him. And now he is the opposite, total opposite of that. Now he has Locked and Loaded Faith podcast now, where he brings men on to talk about their faith like you, and shares his journey with them so that they know that there is a way out of it.
Yeah. And sometimes, like, people talk about seasons, and when you're going through it, it doesn't matter if it's a week season or a 7-year season, it hurts. And I'm not making little of anybody's pain, because there is emotional pain, there's physical pain, there's that pain that just to your soul, you can't even speak, you just weep, right? We all know different pain, but it will all get better. And again, God's not vindictive. He is only love. So if we're here and you're hearing my voice, or, you're hearing Rich's voice, or you're alive, breathing, there's a reason. And again, I'm not just making this up. In 2005, totally unrelated, I started getting sick again after some dental work. And for 2 years, I just wasn't right. And then in 2007, I collapsed. And I went to an ER in Texas where we were moving cross country, and they're like, you got a blood infection. And then from 2007 to 2009, I again dropped down to like 140 pounds. The 3 different doctors told me to make out my will, get my affairs in order. I ended up having to go to the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota because nobody could figure it out. And when I say I was in agony, it was agony. And I could take a polygraph. I wasn't just praying, Rich, to get through a day. I would be praying, okay, God, just let me live one more hour. Let me just get through this hour. And it was horrible, but I learned a ton. I don't want to go through it again, but I learned a ton. And that pain lasted. I had stomach pain and facial pain. I had trigeminal neuralgia from the dentist that hit a nerve. So I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, tons of just issues. And then it ended up taking out my gallbladder, and I was trying to take out other body parts between infection and lack of sleep. But that whole ordeal was straight up 3 years of torment. But then once we started getting better, again, I'm back and healthier than ever. So I don't know why it happened. I'm thankful that it's over. I'm thankful for what I learned. But for anybody listening to Rich or I or anybody else, don't compare yourself to anybody in the sense of like, why is this happening to me? Ask that question to God if you can learn from it. Ask the questions to God, but don't question God. It's like a kid. Why can't I do that? That's questioning your parent. You deserve a slap in the head. And if there's any snowflakes listening, I'm sorry. Kid needs a slap in the head. But if he's like, hey, why can't I do that? That's a whole different conversation. So don't be afraid to ask God why, but don't be a little, scumbag and question him either, because he is our creator.
That's when bad things happen to you. And then you have to fight through it and know that it's, like you said earlier, he's not being vindictive. He's trying to teach you a lesson. And you will learn a lesson, or you will not learn, and bad things will happen to you anyway. So some people just don't learn, and that's slap on the head. Just on the CIS, it doesn't always work for Denozo, but it did work sometimes.
Yeah, and in the Bible, the two best stories that kept me going when things were dark. I mean, it was Joseph and Job, because Job didn't do anything wrong, but Satan was like, "Oh, I can get him to switch. I can get him to hate you." And he couldn't, right? Because Job had that pure heart. But Job went through a lot. Now, Joseph, people don't know this, but that wasn't like 2 days or 2 weeks. there's estimates up to 30 years. That guy, he was betrayed by his own family, and he was, traded and sold and put in prison. And when things start going right for the guy, he gets betrayed again. Potiphar's wife accuses him of rape, but then he ends up with Pharaoh and he ends up second in command, and then it all worked out. So again, it's like, if God allows something to happen to you, even if you don't feel it right now, there really is a bigger reason. And again, the best story in the Bible is Jesus. You can't tell me Jesus did anything wrong. He was perfect. He was holy. He was without sin. And yet that guy got beat up and betrayed and spit on and mocked. And he did it for us. He did it for you. He did it for me. And he would have died for one of us. He didn't have to die for all of us. He would have died for one of us to be saved. But instead, he died for the whole world. So it's a beautiful story. But if you're suffering right now, just remember there's a reason, and you will get through. And an eternity will be beautiful.
Just keep battling. Keep battle. Don't quit. I mean,
Yep.
Dave, you could have quit twice when you had orange-sized tumor in you with a tail going down inside you. I mean, just thinking the way you describe it, just thinking of that inside you, and you were just a young man when that happened. And
yeah, I was 18. I mean, I had it for years and I didn't know. They told me at one point, because I stopped going to the doctor because I was so sick of going. All they ever did was prescribe you antibiotics, right? But they told me I had asthma. Because I'd be like wrestling and boxing and working, and I had no problems. But then every once in a while, I was just like, I had to open the freezer. We were poor. We didn't have air conditioning. Open the freezer and like breathe in the cold air. What was happening is when I cooled off the temperature, it shrunk it enough that I could open my airway. And I'll never forget, there was this match my senior year of wrestling, and I was on my back. And the kid, it wasn't like some amazing hold. But you know when your airway is completely just gone, like you have no air, but then you have the type you can hold your breath and fight. Then you have like in jiu-jitsu where people cut off your artery. Well, you got 5-6 seconds. I don't care how big you are, your brain is going to shut off. When I was on the ground, I was shutting off and I could feel it. And I did not know why. And I'm embarrassed. And it's one of my last matches in my senior year. And people were looking at me like, what the hell is wrong with you? How'd you lose that? And looking back, it's like, duh, all the tumor was cutting off all the blood flow to my brain. And it was a vascular tumor. That's another thing. I was wrestling and boxing, just screwing around with your friends, playing tackle football. I've never even had a nosebleed in my life.
Oh, wow.
So it's nuts, man. But that's all God, because statistically, there's no reason I should be alive, but I am. And that doesn't make me special. That makes God special. And that makes anybody listening who's going through stuff, if you're still here, there's a reason for you.
Definitely. And that helps you kind of guide you to your purpose now and helping others. You help others do marketing. You help others do web design. Tell us a little bit how you got into that side of your business life while still leading with faith.
Yeah. So I never knew what I wanted to do. Like I had ideas and I tried everything I could. But there's some people in a way, not in jealousy, but I envy them that they're born like, I want to be a blank. I want to be a landscaper. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a secretary. They just know what they want to do. I was never like that. I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I was like, okay, I'm just not going to go to college. Why waste money to go to college? Because I was just recovering from this tumor. My goal was to join the military, and that got, I was damaged goods. They removed the cheekbone. They removed my palate. Like you can't tell, but I've had parts removed from it, right? This isn't, I don't have share fake plastic, but they took away and then God started healing it up. But I was like, well, I'm not going to college and I'm just going to get a job doing landscaping again. And then one day I was working for this landscaper and you think if somebody did $250,000 in landscaping, that's a lot of money today.
Yeah.
Imagine that in 1997. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And, you're not supposed to talk to the customers and say, what do you do for a living? But I was like, at that point, recovering, I was exhausted, but killing myself doing landscaping. And you remember back when Jeep Cherokees were the cool thing? Like they were like the first SUV. They had like 3 or 4 Grand Cherokees and they just spend all this money. And then the day I bring up the documents to say, hey, we're going to finish this week. Here's your final invoice, sign here and we'll get out of your hair. The wife's like, I know I designed this, but I think I want this, and this different. And I'm like, ma'am, I'm like, we're just about to wrap up. I'm like, that's like a complete project redo. And she's like, oh, I know. She's like, we'll pay for it. You didn't do anything wrong. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right. I'm like, let me do this. Let me get the owner on the phone, the designer, and they'll hook up what you need and we'll get it done. So inside, I'm like, I'm going to college because I'm like, what do they do? So I went and asked these guys what they did for a living, and they just were at the right place at the right time and came up with an invention. You know, the time clocks, like old fashioned punch time clock.
Yeah.
Him and two of his buddies were the guys that patented it. And they just made millions and millions of dollars, and they be done for the rest of their life. So I thought, okay, they make all that money with a pencil and paper, and I'm the one planting their trees. I'm going to college. Now, college isn't for everybody, and I didn't even know what I wanted to do, but I knew I didn't want to I knew that I love building stone walls, but I knew that by the time I get older, my back might hurt. And I didn't know what my outcome was physically because, at that point, they didn't know if the tumor was coming back again or what, right? So I'm like, I'm going to go to college and do something I can do with my mind. So even if I was having issues physically, I could work. So I go to college, don't know what I want to be. I went for marketing, and I had these people in Pennsylvania convince me to switch to engineering. And then I switched to engineering, but I never ended up going to that college. So I went to Pensacola Christian in Pensacola, Florida. And there I started with mechanical engineering, and I did 2 years, Rich, and I was miserable because I was only getting an engineering degree because I figured I'd go into sales. And I thought I can sell robotics if I get an engineering degree, but I never wanted to be an engineer. And to this day, I'm still friends with I could probably call 12 people that I regularly stay in contact with from that engineering program. But they're all engineers and they're all brilliant. And I remember doing homework with them. I'm like, how do you know this? I know I screwed off in high school. Don't get me wrong. But they could just get these concepts, and I felt like Forrest Gump. So I ended up getting a marketing degree. And I finished a marketing degree, worked full-time, got married, and ran a side business. And all that was easier than getting an engineering degree. Wow. So that's how I got started in marketing. But I still just wanted to go into sales because to me, sales is helping people. And I had a guy come in the store to buy a computer. Money was no issue. I mean, that was back when laptops were like $9,000. I was working for Gateway Computers. And that's actually a funny story too, because I didn't know how to use a computer.
Oh, wow.
And I got a job selling Gateway Computers. And I became the top salesman the first month. And I felt so bad. I didn't lie to anybody. I told them, I don't know how to use it, but I heard this is good. But I felt so bad that I was selling things I didn't know that I actually I wanted to become an expert at computers. So I learned how to build them, how to program them. I learned everything I could. So now I got the software side that I never had. I'm working on the sales side, and God blessed, I was a top ranked salesman in the country, not just Pensacola. And then when I was selling computers, I'm like 2 months away from graduation. My wife's 5 months pregnant. I didn't know what I was going to do. So, you start feeling that stress as a man who needs to provide. And this guy comes in, he tells me how he sells body armor. And I'm like, really? And he was telling me how great the company was and how fun the job was and how awesome the people are. And so that's when Google first came out. Or it was out, but it started getting popular. And I went during my lunch break and Googled, and the company was right. And the chief operating officer was true. And so I wrote them, and I remember fax machines. I faxed them, I emailed them, and I called them. And I said, I want to work for you. And then that's like, most of the people in there, veterans or retired officers, people with backgrounds in like law enforcement, special forces. And I'm some kid right out of a Christian college. And it just worked out. Guess where the office was? Tennessee. Guess where we were going on vacation before we had our son? Tennessee. So I said, hey, I'm not being overly forward, but I'm telling you, we're going to Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg. You want me to swing by? The guy's like, yeah, but we don't have a job for you. Went, had an interview, met with Frank Irwin, great human. I learned so much from him. And anyways, when I went to that interview, that wasn't even really an interview, he was just kind of humoring me. he liked me. And then I made this stupid statement because I used to be very quiet. And he said something like, we don't have a job, but if something comes up, you know, you're a marketing guy, you can't do sales, you don't know anything about body armor, you don't know anything about this or that. And he was 100% right. But I made this statement. I said, Frank, I love what you're doing. I love this company. I'm going to do this. Am I going to work for you or against you? That's the only question. And no joke, I don't know why that came out of my mouth, but that's what hooked them. And by the time I got home from vacation, remember when you had the voice boxes, like no cell phones, but you had the answer machines?
Oh yeah, big ones.
I had an answer machine from him, said, yeah, we got a place for you. And he hired me, got my wife insurance, even though she was pregnant and you're not supposed to be able to get insurance. They worked everything out. They gave me more money than I asked for, and they did it. So it's just God. Like, you meet the right people at the right time. And even though I was scared out of my mind, I was wondering how I'm going to buy groceries. God provided.
Definitely. And you were up in God's country in Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg at the time. So there's nothing but beauty up there, except when the tourists take over. Like, well, this week there's about 12,000 Jeeps up there for Jeep invasion. But
Yeah.
other than that, it's a great time up there.
Yeah. I lived in Knoxville in the Halls community of it for 3 years. We loved it. I worked over in Jacksboro, Tennessee. And that's where the factory was that I worked at.
Outstanding. When you said Gateway, all I can think of was these giant cow boxes that came to my house when I was in Fort Riley, Kansas, when I ordered my first Gateway computer. And these giant boxes came, just looked like a cow. And
Yep. Ted Waite, he was a great marketer.
That just popped in my head as the cow box.
At one point, that was like the most recognized business logo. It got popular fast. I mean, you got Coke that's been in business for how many years? And at one point, Gateway took over and they were the most recognized logo. And I remember having calls with the corporate office and they were asking me in college advice on marketing. Like, hey, how are you hitting these numbers? How are you bundling these packages? So I got offered a job to work for their corporate, but they had two options: California, which wasn't for me, or like the middle of the the fields. I forget where they were from, but originally they started in a very rural place like North Dakota. And I was like, that wasn't going to work for family. And I didn't want to raise my kids in California. So I was like, man, thank you so much. I respect you so much, but I'm just going to pass. And then I went on to the body armor company.
Outstanding. And we got a question in the audience here from Master June. What's the first step you recommend for someone struggling to find their purpose? Thank you, Master June.
All right. So first thing is always pray. And I'm sure you're doing that already. And a lot of times we get in our own way. So what you might want to do is write down the stuff you love. Because I found, and Rich, you can chime in, anybody who loves what they do, they almost always make money doing it, right? And then if not, it's not because they're not good at it. It's because there's probably something else holding them back. And that's a different conversation, you know, like some form of self-sabotage, or they have some kind of, I'm not worth it, so they don't charge enough money. But to find out what you do, what you should be doing, your purpose, when we pray, we talk to God. When we read our Bible, he speaks to us. That two primary ways. So always be praying, be reading your Bible, but write down what you're really good at. Because, you know, you might be good at something, but you don't enjoy it. So make one list of all the things you're truly good at, or people have told you you're good at it, even if you don't believe it. Because like, I thought I was a functional idiot. I thought I was a step above Forrest Gump. Until Frank Irwin. I'm out of college. I'm at my first job. And this guy's talking to me and we're having a dialogue. And I'm like, how is it that I get along with this guy, but other people I don't? And then I said something like, yeah, I'm an idiot. He's like, you're far from an idiot. So if people are recognize something in you, then write that down, even if you don't believe it yet. So then you have a list of the things you love. You have the list of what you're good at. And then the third list, and a lot of people approach this differently, but it's like, what do you make money at? Okay, that's moral, right? What do you make money at that's moral? And then kind of where those three circles overlap, that can be your sweet spot or what you're looking at for your purpose. And so, for instance, I love to help people. I love to teach. I love to learn, right? I'm not a school guy like in the classroom, but I will. But I love to learn. And, I don't know who you are. Can he chime in and talk, or is it just question text only?
Text only.
Okay. So let's just say you love to teach, right? But you also love cars. And then you're like, oh yeah, I'm mechanic. I make some money doing that, but I'm struggling. Where those kind of converge is where you want to start focusing your attention. And it could be, as simple as a YouTube channel. And another thing is, when you're finding your purpose, don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to experiment. Don't be afraid to try things. Like, I want to start a cash-based business just because I see how the world's going, right? I want to have a little more preparation. And what I mean by that is a service business, something local in town. Because what I do is marketing and sales consulting. So it's virtual. It's through this camera all day, every day. I want to do something outside, have more interaction with people. I just spent a year and a half planning for a company, and just 2 days ago, I'm like, nope, not doing it. And so a year and a half, I spent a decent amount of money, but the thing was, the more I prayed about it, the more I thought about it, I learned and I grew through this process. And it might be an expensive lesson, but it's the same thing for you and for every human. Don't be afraid to try something. Don't be afraid to test the waters. Now, there's two situations. Most of the time, when you're looking for your purpose, you want to test it and do it like part-time. So then you can transition out of what you're doing into what you love. And for a while, you might be working 2 40-hour weeks, but that's okay because you love one and the other one's paying the bills, right? So you have that transition. That's the smartest way to do things typically, while you're searching for your purpose and your passion. There are a few times where, Rich, you can probably attest to this. You just go all in. It's like you save up 6 months and then you rip off the Band-Aid and you jump in. But if you have a wife and children and people who depend on you, that puts a lot of stress on them too. If you're a single, who cares? You can sleep in your car, right? You can sleep anywhere, sleep on a friend's couch. But if you got a family, I would definitely recommend alternative one, where you're transitioning into your passion. But to find that passion, summarize, I probably talked way too much, but ask people that not even you're just friends with and family. Ask people who maybe you have a relationship with, but they may not be your closest friend, because they're going to be real honest with you, right? They may not like you even, and they're going to tell you, you're an ass. Sorry, but you're a jerk, whatever, you're this, you're that. You actually stink at your job, but man, you can teach, or man, you're really good at repairing that diesel engine. So that you should really open your eyes. And then you find again that list of what you really love. Because, for instance, I used to love wrestling, loved it. But as a grown man, it's not like you can join a wrestling league, like a softball league, right? But the thing is, I wasn't the best wrestler, but I loved it. So that's a hobby. Okay. Now there's other things that I'm good at and you're good at, but I don't like it. Like I do it and I can make money at it, but it doesn't get me wanting to come back and do it the next day. So that's what I'm saying. Make the list of what you love, what you're good at, and then what you can make money at. And where those three circles converge, that little triangle is your sweet spot. And as you're reading your Bible, God will confirm things and he'll use people to confirm things. And the last thing is do it. The talk of the lips tendeth only to penury. That means talk's cheap, right? And the Bible says, commit thy works unto the Lord and thy thought shall be established. So if you're depressed, go help people. If you're looking for your purpose and you're thinking, I might want to start a masonry company, go start doing it. Tell somebody, hey, I'll work for you a couple Saturdays this month for free. I just want to see if I like it. Go do something. And then your thoughts start processing. Does that make sense?
100% makes sense. And I think you hit the nail on the head with when you go to work, if you wake up in the morning and you say, I got to go to work, it's not going to be a fun time for you. But if you wake up in the morning and you say, I get to go to work, then you're certain that it has a purpose for you at that job. Or if you're home business, it's something you get to do. It's something you're motivated to do and something you want to do. But when you've got to do something, it becomes a grind. And that's when bad things start occurring in your mind. I can't do this. I'm going to quit. I'm going to do this. But if you find that thing, like you were just talking about, finding the thing that tickles your purpose and makes you feel like this is what gets me going, that'll keep you going throughout the day.
Yeah. And there's people who've been beat up, Some people have self-sabotaged their own life. Some people have earned their shame. Some people have been just abused, but it doesn't matter your past. God forgives us in a second, when you, for whosoever shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. Everything's done. With the heart man believeth in righteousness, with the mouth confession is made of salvation. But there's people who've been convinced by their parents, by their people they grew up with, by their spouses, that they're worthless. So if you're in that case, in that category, sadly, I'm sorry. And I've been there, right? But what you want to do is forget all of it. Just forget the lies. Even if you believe them, just forget about it. Just what am I supposed to do today? What's the most valuable use of my time today? And then do it. And that's just keep you going. And, I was joking around. I'm 48 and I was just telling one of my friends yesterday, or maybe even early this morning, it's the weekend, the days are blending together. I was like, yeah, I don't know what I want to do when I grow up. It's always changing. So my purpose in life is to glorify God. And then I know my personal calling is to help people grow as much as I can. I want to win people to Christ in the sense of tell them about Jesus and have them trust him. And then I want to take people who are Christians and help them grow, right? And I'm not perfect. They help me as iron sharpeneth iron, so the man countenance of his friend. So that's my purpose, okay? But that purpose might be in, I'm running my own company, I'm hiring employees and helping them out. It might be, I'm going to go work for corporate America, and now I work with a team. It might be I go to the gym and I see somebody struggling, having a bad day, and you're just like, hey man, how's it going? You can talk to them about sports, but you're just there for them. So for you, I don't know your situation, but you do have value, you do have purpose, and you may not see the big picture, but just focus on what do you want me to do today? What's the most valuable use of my time today? And that's all you can do. Just do what you need to do today and the rest will work out.
100%. And we got another question came in. This is a pretty cool name, I guess. Fake news. So how has your faith influenced your approach to leadership and business?
So I don't that's a great question, first off. But I think I grew up with so many liars that even before I trusted Christ, I had no tolerance for BS. And I'm the same guy. I taught at a college for 3 years. And I tell the students the first day, I'm like, you may like me or you may hate me, but I'm the same jerk to everybody. So when I'm living the life with God, there's a saying, you never know who someone is, behind closed doors in the dark. And that is very true. But I try to be the same guy all the time. And this is why. I can lie to you. I can lie to other people. I can even lie to myself, but I can never lie to God. So why waste the time? So when I'm in leadership positions, I think everything you do, you should be a leader. Like, not like you're struggling for power, but you should have character and you should have integrity and you should have those leadership qualities. And men, meaning mankind, will naturally gravitate towards you. You can be the janitor and be a better leader than the CEO. So number one, I think every decision needs to be made with moral, ethical values that matter to you. And if they go against the grain, shake their hand, say, thank you. This isn't for me. And again, I'm not saying as a hypocrite or, oh yeah, I make good money now, but I did this when I was in college, when I could barely buy groceries. I'll be honest. I mean, this wasn't Ted Waite or it was just the regional manager at that time. They made more money off one brand of computer than another. So I was just a sales rep, but they wanted me to sell the cheaper computer I didn't believe in because they made more profit margin. And I took off my name tag. I'm like, thanks for the opportunity. I can't do that because I don't believe in it. Have a great day. And I walked out. And then they stopped me and said, okay, you can sell whatever you want. But the thing is, even if they let me go, I could sleep at night. So when you ask the question, how do you bring your faith into the business? There's so many liberals and lawsuits. You got to balance it based on the organization you're with. But I'm open about who I am. I'm open about what I believe. And if somebody wants to join us, like in the sense of if I was going to pray before a meal, they can join me. If they don't want to, they don't have to. And when I'm leading, everything is ethical. And I work for a company, Armor Holdings, that got bought by BAE. Man, I love that company. That wasn't in any way, shape, or form a Christian company. But when you flipped open that laptop, it said I'm summarizing it, but basically, this is a work computer. You're here to work. Do not use it for porn or anything unethical, or you're fired. And they meant it. And I loved it because they had character in everything they did. So when you're working with people, be straightforward, be honest, try to help everybody grow, but you're not there to give charity either. You know what I mean? So there's a fine balance. And again, Rich, if I'm getting lost in the weeds on these questions, or if I'm going long-winded, let me know. But at the same day, you should be a quote unquote good. There's no good but God. You should be a kind and moral and strong person in your home. You should be that way with your friends. You should be that way at work. And if somebody asks you something, just be honest and straightforward. And if you are that leader and somebody wants to do something immoral, no. And if you're going to do that, I'm just not going to be here to do it with you. And that I've had 3 or 4 times in my career where that was a scary move. But, I believe wholeheartedly that if you do the right thing, God will always take care of you.
Definitely. And I had a boss back in 99, 2000 time period, Sergeant Major Curtis. He told me no matter what job you go to in the Army, be the best at it. Be the best version of yourself when you go there. No matter if you know that job when you get there or not, be the best version of you while you're there. And that always stuck in my head. And then I started, reading history as I come out. And I remember reading one about John Kennedy going to the NASA Space Center. He walked up to a custodial engineer, said, "What do you do here?" And that janitor looked at him and said, "I'm helping put a man on the moon." He knew his purpose was part of the larger mission. It wasn't just part of him cleaning trash. It was him being part of that bigger mission and knowing his purpose in life was to help the whole mission and not just his little part of it.
Yeah, I agree 100%. You look at your body, how many parts do we have, right? If you just took the ignorance of man and you just took the main systems of the body and you took the main organs, you got a brain, you have a heart, you have some kidneys, but fingernails, skin, like how many things protect us? And if you didn't have that, like I know it sounds dumb, but you ever get like an infection in your finger and it freaking hurts and it's distracting? That's all you can think about. And you can actually get sick, get a blood infection and die, right? If it's a bad one. But like one little injury can take you out. So that's why every piece of your body is important. Every piece of the organization is important. Every piece matters. And what is seen, if we were going to battle and we saw 50 miles of wall, but we saw one chink in the armor, what are we attacking? That's the same thing with saving our lives, whether it's physical, whether it's professional, or whether it's spiritual. He's going to find our weaknesses and attack that chink in the armor, that weak link. So for us, we want to make sure we're real, we're transparent. And like Rich, if we're friends and we're hanging out regularly, right? You're going to know me hopefully transparently enough that you know my strengths and my weaknesses. So you got my back and the weaknesses, and I'll have yours. And now we just form a better bond and a stronger unit. And that's how I think it's supposed to be, the body of Christ.
Exactly. And I think all small pieces make one tough unit. And just to that point of the wall and the kink in the armor, most of my leaders would want us to jump the wall. But
hey, man, whether you go through the wall, under the wall, over the wall, just get to your destination. That's what matters, right?
It's a trap over there, so we have to go straight through the wall. But
yeah,
digress here. We have one more question I can get in here before we run out of time. This is from Acty Jelly 2. What's the most common mistake people make when trying to live purpose-driven lives? Thank you, Acty Jelly.
Another great question. I think the most common, I mean, I'm not God, but the most common mistake I see is people living other purposes, other people's calling, other people's, well, I should be doing this because so I'm supposed to be a Christian. I should be doing this, or, I'm 35 and I got a wife and kids. So I'm saying that because I'm a guy. You might have a husband and kids, whatever, but you're living out to a societal expectation. And comparing is always bad. I don't like comparing. I mean, there's a standard of healthy comparison, yourself to Jesus, right? So, okay, this is the standard. That's what I need to live to or keep trying. But then there's that dissatisfaction and you feel bad about yourself or you feel prideful about yourself. But when you feel prideful, just remember you're this fast guy in the slow reading group, right? Because you're not perfect, you're not holy, and we all have room to improve. So when I look at people, I see them working. Well, they said you should be an entrepreneur. So they start their own business and they fail and they don't quit. They start 6 businesses, fail 6 times. The problem is they were looking for somebody else's purpose, or the world says you want to be a business owner, so you have freedom. Dude, if you've ever owned a business, you work harder than an employee. You work longer hours. You're under more stress. And when the crap hits the fan, you can lose your house, right? You don't just lose a job. So I want to make sure that when people are following their purpose, it is their purpose. It's not just what they're passionate about, but what God's called them to. Because if I spent the rest of my life, Rich, learning to sing, and I became a great opera singer, which, just so you know, singing is like one of the top 2 things I'm worst at in life. The other one's navigation. Okay. Oh, wow. So navigation and singing waved me bye-bye long ago. But if I spent my whole life trying to be a great singer, even if I achieved something that sounded good, I just wasted the real purpose God had for me that was way further and more important, right? So I guess that's the number one thing. Again, I feel like I'm giving long-winded answers, forgive me, but you want to make sure you're fulfilling your purpose, not somebody else's dreams and goals or their purpose.
Definitely. I think as we're going through grammar school, high school, our parents are kind of telling us things that would be successful for us. And a lot of my class wanted to either become teachers or go into business and go to school and learn business. Or for me, it was go learn accounting. And I did up to accounting 2 or intermediate accounting. And I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. It's killing me. So I switched to marketing. And then I went in the Army and took basically a 20-year hiatus from school and then started up again and finally got my degree in Homeland Security at the end. So I finally found my purpose was something way different than when I started out as, because I was being pushed to something. And I took that life curve and went with the green boots, the green suit and boots and did my thing for 20 plus years and then found my real purpose in life.
Yeah. And again, God's will doesn't change. And our purpose, our ultimate bottom line purpose is to glorify God. It's in John. But, our missions change. You might have different missions at different seasons in life. And so like right now, I run my own company. We may talk in a year and I may be working for somebody again, or I may start another company, who knows? But if we're always seeking God and saying, hey, God, what do you want me to do? What's the best use of my time today? So there's a biblical principle that we plan like you're going to be here 50 years. And before you jump in, you count the cost and you measure and you plan. That's all biblical. But it's also biblical to live like today's our last day, right? And to live like we're giving it all. We're leaving it all on the mat. We're living it all on the battlefield. Live or die, we're giving it all. And that's why cover to cover, Old Testament, New, balance. A false balance is abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. The concept of balance is something, a thread, like faith. Faith is how you're saved. That's a thread through the Bible, Old Testament, New, cover to cover. But there's also, if you want to live a life that has that peace and joy, there's balance. Balance is huge.
Definitely. Thank you for answering all the questions in depth. Because now there's no other questions coming. That means you answered those and they were happy about it. So that's outstanding.
All right. Well, if I screwed or smooched the pooch or didn't make it clear or rambled, they can write me and we'll talk. And hopefully I can clarify and make it better.
Well, definitely. And Tim McGraw had a great song, Live Like You Were Dying. And you got to live every day to your fullest is what I took out of that song. Not just to live like you're going to die, but live every day to your fullest and give your best every day. And I think that's everything you were saying just now. Live with that purpose and lean forward in life and do what the plan is for you. You may not know it. It's not written in front of you, but it's up here. It's someone's on this little shoulder here telling you. So just do that thing and do the right thing, and you'll understand what's going on in life.
Yeah, and there is I don't want to think people think I'm like hyper violent, right? But I will say violence, I don't care what anybody says, violence solves problems. Okay. There's times in life, you read the Bible cover to cover, people went to war for a reason, right? But why I brought that up is when you know, and again, I didn't always know. I just need to know what I need to do today. When you know, okay, this is at least what God asked me for today, then you don't compromise that in any way, shape, or form. And you can rest assured when you pillow your head at night, if things go sideways, if things go south, all right, God's in control. It's going to work out because I did what I was supposed to do today. I fulfilled my calling. I fulfilled the mission today. So the war will be won. It's not going to be a loss ever because you made the right decisions. And again, that doesn't mean you won't go through hard times. It doesn't mean it won't be a struggle, but it means you'll have peace, you'll respect yourself, and you'll have a great eternity. Because when this short 70, 80 years is over, you got the rest of eternity to celebrate that you were smart enough and wise enough to do the right things.
Outstanding. And you said earlier that they can reach out and touch you and talk to you. What's the best way for the audience to get in contact with you?
Yeah. So the best way to reach me is through email for sure. But you can go to my website, davidpasqualone.com. There's a contact us page and just say, hey, I saw Dave on the MisFitNation. I wanted to get in touch and I'll give you a call back. That way I'll call you directly.
Outstanding. And it's going across the bottom of the screen. If you're on video, on audio, it'll be in the show notes of it as well. And it's also in the chat. Every one of your links is in the chat. Both your personal links and your Remarkable People links are all been shared in the chat throughout the night. So
nice.
As we're getting ready to close, this is our last Stump the Chump question that we give at the end of it here. What's 3 things the Misfit Nation can start doing tomorrow to be better humans?
3 things the Misfit Nation can do to be better humans.
Yes.
That's powerful and broad. So the first thing is be who God made you to be. Doesn't matter how many failures, doesn't matter what you've done. Just focused on integrity and what's right. So that's number 1. If you focus on integrity and what's right, it's like God, when they were asking Jesus, what's the greatest commandments? Love the Lord, the God, with all thy heart, the soul, and the mind, and love thy neighbor as thyself. On these 2, everything falls. Basically, if you love God and you love others, everything falls into place. So to answer your question, love God, love others. 2, just do the right thing, even when it's hard. You know what to do. You got your orders, follow them. That's your next step. This is the most profitable and valuable thing I can do today. And then the third thing is the older I think we all get, but again, we go through different seasons in life, the more we realize how little we actually know. And I believe in absolute truth. I believe in right from wrong. I believe in black and white. That is not what I'm about to say. But sometimes we're so convinced we're right, we destroy people along the way. Emotionally, we destroy people with we come down, they're not in the same place we are, and they just can't handle it. We crush them like a weak rock and they turn to dust. So tying into that first one is also the third, that ask a lot of questions, try to lead people to the right answers, to the right decisions, to the black and the white. Don't just crush them. And, there's people who sin and just, they'll hurt somebody just to be a jerk. And it is true that everybody does, and everybody is who they are for a reason. But there's also times where you don't have time to psychoanalyze them. You know what I mean? Exactly. But when you do have time to spend with them and work them through their issues, somebody lied to you at work. Why? They didn't show up for work and they lie about it. You might want to just, instead of just saying, you're out, you're fired, talk to them and see the real reason. And then maybe you do fire them anyways, but you're like, I'm here for you if you need me. Right. So I remember one time I had a very bad situation with employees. I had 35 people under me, and 2 of them got in an affair. And it was a weird situation too, right? I don't want to go into the details, but I ended up having to deal with this, and I had to let the guy go and the lady go. And to this day, though, I still have a good relationship with both of them. And again, that's not, oh, look at Dave. I'm not saying that to lift me up. I'm saying that because I'm practicing what I'm preaching here. and I treated them how I felt was just, but I did it with the love and compassion that I think God wanted me to have and what I'd want. And we were able to, after they were fired, they were clearly fired. But then I was able to help him through it. And now he runs his own, it's not because of me only, but instead of just crushing the man and telling him what a worthless piece of trash he is, I was able to help him get, squared away mentally and back on his feet. And now he runs his own company.
Outstanding. Thanks for sharing that with us, because that's makes it humanize the three things that you just shared with the Misfit Nation. Humanize it, let them understand that there's ways to do things the right way, and help them to make those good decisions tomorrow and into the future, hopefully. But again, Dave, thanks for letting us flip the mics here and getting you on here tonight on the Misfit Nation and sharing your journey with us.
Yeah, it's been an honor. Like I said, if anybody needs me, just reach out. I'll do what I can. But yeah, I wish everyone only the best, and God's there. I got nothing, but God's everything. Outstanding.
Appreciate you. Misfit Nation, tune in Tuesday for the Tuesday Cruise. We welcome back First Sergeant Retired Will Eller, EOD, as him and Jake will go over situational awareness. Until next time, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling, because we are
Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation.